Welcome back. This is still the morning brief right here on Channels Television. And now we're turning our attention to the judiciary. We know the urgent need already to reform, reposition, and of course restore the judiciary. I call this the 3 R's, which is very important if we want to move forward and develop as a nation. Well, the last hope of the common man is the judiciary, as they always say. And now Justice Kekere Ekun will be taking over as the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, of course, pending her confirmation at the Nigerian Senate. So there's a lot about this issue and what will the difference, of course, that she'll be bringing to the table to ensure that this sector is reformed. We have in the studio joining us today Mr. Wahab Shittu, is the Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Thank you very much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right. It's interesting to know woman power. Of course, I'll support the fact that this is a woman, and probably that's why this segment was left for me to handle. She'll be the second person, if she is confirmed by the Senate, she'll be the second person taking over after Miriam Mukhtar, who we know handled this position also in the past. What does this mean for the judiciary? What do you think the difference will be bringing, the difference she'll be bringing to the table, of course, if she is confirmed?
Well, it is not just a woman that is coming in as the next Chief Justice of Nigeria, but a stellar woman.
Exactly.
A woman of high discipline, high integrity, a woman that is incorruptible. And when I say this, it is not patronizing at all. Every lawyer, every judge, everyone who is familiar with the administration of justice in Nigeria knows the reputation of my Lord, Honorable Justice Kekere. Stella, no nonsense, judicial officer with unblemished service records. This is one judicial officer who has seen it all. He started from the magistracy as a senior magistrate in 1989. He was in the High Court here. She was in the High Court here, Lagos. And her reputation was stellar. Any lawyer appearing before Honorable Justice Kekere Ekun must be well prepared. Because you know that she is knowledgeable. She will not tolerate nonsense from anyone. You cannot even attempt to corrupt her. Her demeanor does not even give that kind of license. And she has zero tolerance for corruption. So that we are having a judicial officer of such pedigree at this point in time, I say congratulations to Nigeria. Because he's going to sanitize, his lawsuit is going to sanitize the system. She's going to infuse the system with high ethical standards. Every judicial officer must sit up. Every lawyer must sit up. Every stakeholder in the administration of justice must sit up. Enter His Lordship, Honorable Justice Kekere Ekun, the stellar, no-nonsense judicial officer who's knowledgeable and who is set to reform our judiciary. I have high hopes. Don't leave room for that. And no one is perfect as a human being, but we know as lawyers that she is an epitome of these core values that I've illustrated. And she insists on standards around her.
So going forward, are we going to see situations?
She mentioned okay. Aloma Mukhtar, Honorable Justice Aloma Mukhtar, the other female justice. That female former CJ too had that kind of reputation. And you saw, even to the extent, Aloma Mukhtar, the son, who is now a senior advocate, John Majiagwe, applied as a senior advocate during her tenure. He wasn't given. Not because he was not qualified. She does not want to see any impression that she utilized her position to favor somebody around her. No. The son only became senior advocate after her tenure. So you will not see any form of judicial favoritism around Honorable Justice Kekere.
And just before you come in, so are we saying going forward that these leakages that we see, because we're going to what? Politics is coming.
Yes.
There's an election coming. We're going to see this election go all the way to Supreme Court because that seems like the culture here. Are you saying on good authority that we're going to see parties appear in courts on the final day with palpable tension because they don't know where it's swinging? Is that what should be expecting? Because
that is what should be expected. And anyone who tries to subvert the system will be shown the exit door. Because this is a new sheriff in town.
Mr. Shittu, we've talked a lot about corruption,
yes,
but let's also talk about the other things in the judiciary. Allow me to list the judicial appointments, conflicting judgments, abuse of interim injunctions. We've seen this court will say this, oh, this one rules over it, and then it becomes a problem even within those affected. And we talk about discipline, accountability. Jeffrey just talked about election petitions and all of that. So there will be a lot of things going on in the 4 years that she'll be steering this ship. And the first 6 months of it, which aspect do you think she should focus on, apart from corruption, that will make a difference in the judicial system?
She will focus on all those areas you have listed and more. And the expectation is that she will receive cooperation from her brother justices. The expectation is that lawyers and the bench and all stakeholders will cooperate with her. She cannot do it alone. But when you know that there's a new orientation, a new beginning, and you know that it cannot be business as usual, then everybody will sit tight. I expect everyone who is interested in an effective and efficient justice delivery system will cooperate with this new sheriff in town in order to ensure that public confidence is restored. There are a few areas. You spoke about judicial appointments. We expect her to, in line with her reputation, to ensure that henceforth all judicial appointments are merit-driven. I'll be disappointed if this is not so. My expectation is that that will be so. You also mentioned abuse of interlocutory and ex parte orders by some few judges.
Yes.
I don't like the idea of tying the judiciary with a general brush, because I can tell you our judiciary parades some of the best, not only in West Africa, in Africa, in the Commonwealth, and even in the world. Forget about, attempts by some people. Nigerians are very critical. But we have the best brains here in the judiciary. We have elements who are committed to reforming the process. It's only a few bad eggs. Those few bad eggs will be fished out, not only in the bench. So my further agenda is that she should activate and accelerate the disciplinary enforcement mechanisms at the level of the bar and at the level of the bench.
Let me quickly make
because
this point.
she's not just the Chief Justice of the Federation. She also will be presiding over the National Judicial Council.
Right.
And all other agencies in charge of the administration of justice. She's the head. Not only the judicial head, but also the administrative head. She will set the standard. She will set the template. And I'm very optimistic that she will not even soil her name at this stage. She didn't soil her name.
Senior Advocate.
She did not soil her name as a magistrate.
No, clearly.
She did not soil her name as a High Court judge. She did not soil her name as a Court of Appeal justice.
Right.
She did not. She has never soiled her name even as a Supreme Court justice. You can't see any scandal around Honorable Justice Kekere.
So, Senior Advocate, you're big on this
Yes.
corruption bit, which is very important.
Yes.
Because I think it was in 2020 when the ICPC said that 9.4 billion naira was paid as bribe for justice in the judiciary. 9.4 billion naira over the span of 2 years from the ICPC's report that time. That's a lot of money, Senior Advocate, and you'll agree with me. We've had judges saying lawyers have tried to bribe them. Some of them have said it in public, some behind the scenes. So clearly, as you say that she's incorruptible,
yes.
we have people that are collecting this money on a daily basis. 9.4 billion, and that's 2020. Imagine with inflation and the cost of living right now, what that figure will be. We wait to see what ICPC will put up. So I want us to speak to this issue, Senior Advocate. You said a few bad eggs. 9.4 billion naira is not little money.
There is no lawyer who is worth his salt, or a judicial officer worth his salt, his or her salt, that will support corruption.
So why would a lawyer approach a judge to bribe? And when you say she's corruptible, what makes her
different?
She's
incorruptible.
Sorry, when you say she's incorruptible, pardon me. So what makes her different? Have you had instances where she's been approached, you know of, and she said, no, I'm not going to take it?
You cannot even approach her.
Do you know anyone who has tried to approach her and she said, no, I don't want to take it?
You cannot even think of it. You understand what I'm saying? I am just discussing someone who has been around for quite a long time. We all know her. We all know Honorable Justice Kekere. You can't go before her and say you want to offer her a bribe. You understand me? Apart from coming from a respectable background and pedigree, you understand me? She values her reputations seriously. Even staff around there will tell you, don't mess up with her. Don't try it, or else you go to jail. That's the kind of person who's coming in now as the Chief Justice of the Federation.
So
stellar discipline, integrity driven, no nonsense. That's what Justice Kekere. And in spite of all of this, she's civil. She's civil. She's not brash. Even when you appear before her, you will not even know the direction she's going to go. When you see her demeanor, you understand me? Certain judicial officers, through their conduct, demeanor, you will know that maybe they are supporting this side or this side. You will not know.
Okay, Senior Advocate.
She has a very a demeanor that you cannot predict.
I know there are people like that.
Yes. Yes, that's the kind of.
And it's quite commendable. You have been in that space, and you've seen.
I've been around for 36 years.
So you remember the number. So we cannot debate what you know.
Yeah, no, yes. I'm saying it authoritatively. So and I challenge anyone. The bar or the bench.
To the contrary.
To the contrary. I challenge. This is a public challenge. Okay. Nobody can fault our integrity.
Senior Advocate Shittu has put out a challenge. Anybody who can take it on is welcome.
Let anybody who come forward to say, I've attempted to bribe his lordship.
So
nobody can say that.
So let's help our Lord Justice on this particular one. She's walking into a time when the approval rating of the judiciary is not at the best. I know you don't like to paint with the entire brush, but you talked about perception. So that is a perception as much as we can see, especially the fallout of what happened during the election and all of the issues that we're trying to grapple with. So in going forward, let's begin with the bench. Some of the very first things you expect her to do, because you talked about what you're saying is our body language will not even make you approach her. Remember a former president whose body language we're scared of. By the end of 8 years, we're wondering what was this all about at the end of the day. Now we have another that is heading an arm of government who, according to you, is a strong body language that is a deterrent already to anybody who wants to mess up.
Yes.
So the judges, when we have all of this conflicting judgment, ex parte being granted recklessly, what should she do beyond what some people consider just a tap on the wrist? Oh, you're not going to be promoted in 2 years or 3 years, but the person is still on the bench. What can be done? Because the judiciary, just like every other arm of government, needs to send a strong signal that something has changed. What will be that signal beyond her reputation?
Well, I expect her that she will set guidelines. She will set the ground rules for all categories of judicial officers. And she will ensure that cases of corruption, that borders on corruption in discipline or impunity, are speedily dealt with. You understand me? When you report, but provided you are armed with your evidence, she will insist that she will not spare anyone. Read my lips. Who is found guilty of a breach of ethical standards or corruption. First of all, she will set the ground rules. And, or again, I've said it earlier, she will lead by example. If she says you should not be corrupt, you will not see her corrupt. If you say don't take, you will not see her take. You understand what I'm saying? So, and again, she's going to be, I expect his lordship to be more reform-minded. She has a template. We have the National Judicial Summit, spearheaded by another no-nonsense attorney general, Prince Latif Fagbemi, who's well grounded. There's a summit earlier on. The document is available. So I expect her to implement all the recommendations emanating from that summit and insist on judicial integrity, judicial accountability, judicial discipline. I expect him to reform the Supreme Court so that cases are speedily heard. You know, we have a full complement. She's coming in at a time when the Supreme Court has a full complement of 21 justices. It has never happened before like that. For a long time, the Supreme Court has been overwhelmed in terms of limited number of justices. Now we have a full house. So I expect her to walk through several panels, to constitute several panels to deal with the issue of prompt delivery of justice. And then, you know, in the Supreme Court, one of the problems is getting earlier dates. You see cases dragging on unnecessary unnecessary adjournments.
The politicians get access easily.
Well, again, that's another thing. Politicians cannot penetrate her. And let me also send a warning to the political elite. It's not going to be business as usual under my lord. Anyone who wants to go to jail should attempt to go and bribe her. If you want to go to jail. Mind you, you've had a lot of scandal before around some judicial officers. Have you ever had anything scandal around Honorable Justice Kekere? It's not possible. It's not possible because she's well bred, disciplined, and so she's going to lead by example. Again, this abuse of expertise orders that you see, she's not going to take this decision alone. But we know we have disciplinary structures, disciplinary mechanisms in the judiciary. So what I expect her to do is to improve upon all these disciplinary mechanisms available. The National Judicial Council is likely to be much more proactive, much more, will deal speedily more with cases now of corruption. And then, you know, when the bench senses the standards, the bar will follow. The bench, in terms of superiority, the bench clearly is the superior partner. So when you see the head of the judiciary, setting standards, leading by example, and enjoying the cooperation, and you cannot get to the level of the Supreme Court as a justice if you are lacking in moral and ethical standards. Those are people who have seen it all. So when they see that, I expect a lot of cooperation from the broader justices in the Supreme Court, even in the Court of Appeal, the High Court, the Federal High Court. Mind you, this is one judicial officer who has gone through all this gamut. So she's aware of the challenges in every area.
And I hope
yes,
you know that she should know there are people that are already planning to make sure she fails. What does she have as a plan for those who want to sabotage her work? What do you suggest she should have as a plan?
When I'm speaking like this about Honorable Justice Kekere, my assumption and my belief, my optimism, is that elements around her, our brother justices, are equally impeccable in terms of credentials. And when they now know that they can find support in the leadership, they'll be encouraged more to ensure that the proper thing is done. And the lawyers there too, and those who have access, who make use of the justice delivery system, should ensure that they cooperate with her so that the reforms she will be bringing to the table will be successful the way you and I expect.
When we talk about punishment, I know you listed some of the reforms that should be done in terms of making sure that judicial officers who are found culpable are brought to book. But most times, we don't even see that taken seriously. So what are the serious steps that you know when we talk about severity of punishment on judicial officers' misconduct when it comes to this aspect? And we also know the issue of accountability and discipline. It has been a consensus. A consensus has been reached by stakeholders and discussants on trying to severely punish those found culpable, because if you do not take someone as example or scapegoat, then this will continue to happen. The rot in the judiciary will continue to happen.
First of all, people must be encouraged, or must have the courage to report incidents of judicial abuses in discipline and corruption.
Is there a platform?
There's a platform.
Okay.
You see, the bench, there are platforms for dealing with any errant lawyer. There are also platforms for dealing with any errant judge. Everybody has access to those platforms. All you need to do is to seek information. For instance, if a lawyer misbehaves, we have the disciplinary, panels. You can report to the MBA disciplinary committee. If a senior advocate, misbehaves, we have the committee dealing with that will deal with a senior advocate who misbehaves. And if a judge misbehaves, the NJC is there, and they sit regularly. The question the encouragement what I will urge people is that just don't raise frivolous allegations. Make sure that you have evidence, you have proof against it, because reputation is very important. You just don't levy allegations against individuals without proof. Once you have proof and you are sure-footed about your allegations, most times all of these vices that you talk about thrive because we keep silent. People do not want to speak. People do not want to come out. So it is not just Honorable Justice Kekere alone that will be able to satisfy this system. She requires the cooperation of everybody to succeed. We must ensure that we cooperate with her and then ensure that the reforms that she will bring into the table are actualized. So I expect elements around the Supreme Court to cooperate with her.
Right.
Elements around the Court of Appeal to cooperate with her. Elements around the High Court, Federal High Court, the magistracy to cooperate with her. I expect lawyers across board to cooperate with her so that reforms will succeed. Our image will continue to remain stellar, because without the cooperation of everybody, she cannot do it alone.
Senator,
but I know for sure
right.
that We have in place now an incoming CJN who is stellar.
All right, I can bet you that a lot of people will keep this video, this interview with you in the archives. So they can be referring to it as the days and the months go by. You've used Stella at least, in fact, I've lost count. And I think it speaks to your belief, your faith in her. But I want us to speak to specifics as well. And that's why I referenced the figure put out by the ICPC, 9.4 billion naira bribe for judgment. Just recently, a lawyer in Awka, Anambra State, put up a video. In fact, it was a very bold thing to do. And this lawyer was doing a video right there in the magistrate court 2, I think, in Awka, Anambra State. And there were the clerks of the magistrate court there. I don't know if you've seen that video. I imagine you've seen it. Saying that they were asking for 20,000 naira, in quote, bribe, before they pushed the case, which the magistrates had decided upon before they pushed it through. Instead of bail being free, they were asking for 20,000 naira. And then he says when he asked the clerks, they said that, well, it's the magistrate that insisted on the 20,000 naira being collected. Now, that is a real life case, and that is one of many that we've heard. So while you can say the CJN is stellar, incorruptible, you have these issues that are there staring us in the face, and they affect delivery of justice. Someone granted bail, it's meant to be free, but they're asking for 20,000 naira, according to that lawyer in Anambra State.
Thank you very much. Now, the CJN will be presiding over the Supreme Court, the #1 judicial officer. We have the president of the Court of Appeal, who is also presiding over the Court of Appeal judicial system. We have judges of State High Court and Federal High Court. We have chief magistrate and magistrates too. At these various levels, we expect all these leadership authorities to key into our agenda so that she'll be able to succeed. She cannot be everywhere. But what I can guarantee you is that there's going to be a remarkable improvement in justice delivery quality in terms of adherence to ethical standards, in terms of restoring public confidence, in terms of dealing with judicial abuses and indiscipline, in terms of enhancing judicial integrity, in terms of enhancing the quality of judicial appointments, in terms of implementing all the various reforms emanating from the Justice Sector Summit, Reform Summit, in terms of leading by example, in terms of ensuring that judicial judgments of the Supreme Court, any of the courts, are not compromised, in terms of insulating the judiciary from political influences, and in terms of restoring public confidence. There will be a remarkable improvement, and the expectation is that all stakeholders in the administration of justice will cooperate with the incoming CJN so that she'll be able to deliver on her mandate. I'm very optimistic that the judiciary, which is a very critical instrument, will stabilize this our democracy. If the judiciary leads by example, and my expectation that it will do so under our watch, then our country will be sanitized. Then the common man will have more confidence in the justice delivery system. So I'm praying seriously and confident that his lordship's stellar reputation will not be stained.
Just quickly, Senior Advocate, this person said, when the Senior Advocates, this is DG Bikoli on X, says, when the Senior Advocates tell you that this judge is corrupt or not, they know. This person claims that they, I think referring to lawyers, are the conduit pipes of the corrupt deals that are perpetrated in the judicial system. They know themselves. Quick word on this one, Senior Advocate.
Well, perception is quite different from proof. You see, we shouldn't make general statements. You understand me?
Yeah.
We should be able to support our assertions with proof.
All right.
I will not sit here to say we don't have elements in the judiciary who may be corrupt. But I will not sit here to say you are corrupt if I don't have evidence. So what I'm asking everyone who wants to make any statement to do is that arm yourself with evidence. Arm yourself with proof.
So you not explain tire. So you will not explain tire. There's a saying that if you don't have evidence, you will explain and explain tire.
No, you see, reputation is very important.
All right.
What makes everyone a human being is your reputation. Remove reputation from any human being, the person is finished.
So there's a lot we will talk about.
Yes.
She's just taking over soon. So we're going to bring you back and talk about this, unbundling the whole structure. There's a lot. And
all right, thank you very much, Mr. Wahab Shittu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and we definitely, she has our support all the time. I'm sure there's people in the judicial sector.
I can see that you're excited that woman is coming on board.
Woman power
is coming on board.
Of course,
and a stellar woman.
And I'm sure she'll make us
the next
proud.
one is a female president.
Exactly. You know, we know how to do the magic and make things different, so I'm sure she will be a positive outcome. Yes. All right, but that's it on the show today. Thank you so much for watching Morning Brief today. We'll definitely see you again tomorrow. I'm Anne Nwawadu.
And I'm Jeff Rosamo. Thank you for watching.
And just sign off for everybody, since you know how to do the magic. I'm Kekere. Sunrise Daily is next. All right.